raising the frequency of time. The brilliantly fearless new reality that is your evolutionary destiny. Master Teacher. Are you interested in the idea that there is a new continuum of time in which we can view ourselves in a different perspective of the light energy that appears to be emanating from the physicalness of our mind identity? The reflections of light that have identified you as what you call Homo sapiens, the idea of a body formulation, are certainly not more, by your definition of time, than about what you do term 40,000 years, what you call a single planet going around a single little sun, when you know perfectly well that there are billions of stars and billions of galaxies, and somewhere within the frame there has penetrated into you a light frequency of time, where you are beginning to recognize someone who previously was a conflict in your own mind, in the admission that the reflection that you are getting from the idea of the illumination of your mind will set up a new parameter of time for you, if you let it. Shall we just teach for a moment about the new continuum of time in which you're finding yourself? This is the fundamental idea of the loss of fear of yourself in space-time. Here's why. If you are in an objective identity of your self-identity, with a confession that you don't know who you are, why you are here, or what you are doing, you will be a definition of what fear is. In other words, fear is the simple idea that in the momentary location of yourself, as separate from the entirety of what you cannot not be, all of time will be the idea that you're afraid within that sequence. What have we learned in the conceptual idea? That while you may continue to construct your mind, the idea within your mind, the idea of this universe that appears to be out there, the simple process of recognizing a self-responsibility within the thought of your own mind cannot not be the solution. Very simply because the thought or the idea of life is the simple admission that there's going to be one life and that you're going to share with the idea of your wholeness, regardless of how persistent you are in the idea that you and I may love within a framework of separation of yourself and share ideas of sequential time that can last for, what was the term we used, 40,000 years? That is the moment that there appeared within my mind the recognition of an alternative, and this is the whole idea of a body formulation. The thought of that body formulation represented perhaps the 40,000 years in which I am attempting, you call this the evolutionary process of the body form. You look with me. My interest in you, if we're going to proceed with this, and we're determining now within this quantum idea, remember the idea of the uncertainty of who you are. Here is the problem that you have, that you must progress to in the idea of the conversion of the activity of a new continuum of time. Just for a moment you have to look at your fear. Say to me, I am afraid. You're right. Say, I am afraid of the light. Of course you are afraid of the light. The manner in which you manifest yourself in Homo sapiens is so limited in the frequencies of the idea of reflection of light that finally you begin to look and say, why is it that I see a universe there with billions of stars and billions of galaxies? Shall we do some quotes about what you believe is the idea of the relative idea of the universe in which you attempt to subtract yourself? Obviously, if the idea of objective reality is all-inclusive, the manner in which you persist in locating yourself within a dark form is very simply what fear is. Fear is the idea that the universe is only about 14,000 million years old. Now, the idea that I'm occupying a body association in a sequence of the conversion of the formulation of my mind are indications that I have set up parameters. Obviously, if you look at it with me, you know perfectly well that the place that you're occupying is just an illusion of the reflection of your own light. What you have allowed to occur in what we call raising the frequency of time are ideas that a new process of conversion is allowing to happen, even though perhaps at that moment you were afraid of it. Let's take a real close look, real quickly, at the idea of a drama of your fear of the darkness. Come on now. You are going to have come into a place where just for a moment you apparently don't know who you are, why you are here, or what you are doing. That's the simple truth of the matter, because you simply expanded outward and were gone. But the idea of fear is the idea of the retention of yourself within that location of time, and the idea of the immediacy of it are representing to you ideas of exposure, of reflections of light. Here I am now, and I'm suddenly appearing within a range within my own concept, representing a figure that you recognize in your mind as I correspond with you, think I am. The space-time you're attempting to hold together in a moment of space-time was lasting for just that moment in your mind and is now expanding out in the light conversion. Listen, this is an important idea that I'm about to give you. Obviously, the ideas that concern me are about the thought process in your mind, not how I appear to be within the idea of the definition of reflection of myself. The idea that you are not actually a reflection of body formulation is obviously true. You know perfectly well that when you set up a parameter of time in which you recognize other reflected lights that appear to be separate from you in body, you actually formulate within your mind a specific space-time location that's changing all the time. Yet you are afraid that the loss of it will misdirect your body association. Here is why I am here now in this moment, what we term a new continuum of time, and will decide whether to stay or not in just a moment. As your mind begins to undergo fearful experiences, which is what the idea of space-time is, instead of defending yourself in reflections of light, you release the idea of the darkness, which to you is what light is, and you experience a moment of conversion of the reflection of the picture of you that you have of yourself, as compared to the picture of me that I have of myself. This is what we term conversion of the physical body identity into the recognition of a single body formulation. Now, obviously, the idea of that performance is going to give you a great deal of love. Say to me, God is love. In other words, the idea that I'm going to recognize a faculty in my mind where I momentarily lose the fear of myself are the vitalities that are necessary within the conversion of my mind. Yes, you're the one that I was interested in. What you are feeling with me is the happiness, and the term is love because it's the simple idea that you're either going to love the entirety of your idea or you're going to be afraid of yourself. This would have to be true because the only one you possibly be afraid of is the idea of the organization of yourself in the duplicity of the idea of separation. What you're enjoying with me in the training of your mind, and this is training, is another way that you now begin to look at the idea of transformation, so we can escape out into the universe.